Good evening and welcome to the July 17th Council meeting. If you'd please stand and join us in the flag salute. It will be led by Mayor Pro Tem Howie this evening.
Yes, please join us in saluting our great flag. Ready? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Our first presentation this evening is the recognition of MLB pitch, hit, and run participant, Katie Lee Pitts. Katie, would you please come up, please? And also bring your grandfather, Carlos Nestal. Kaylee Pitts placed third in the 12-year-old division of Major League Baseball's pitch, hit, and run team. Sorry, Kaylee. Championship competition at Angel Stadium on June 2nd. The pitch, hit, and run competition is a free event that invites kids to show off their pitching, hitting, and running abilities in softball and baseball, and is the official youth skills competition of Major League Baseball. Kaylee participated in our local competition on March 24th at Ayala Park. She was the hitting and running champion and tied for the pitching champion. She was the all-around champion for her age division, and that qualified her to participate in the next level of the program. On May 20th, she participated in the sectionals hosted by Chino Hills at Chino Hills Community Park. That day, she took gold for her age group, which made her eligible to go on to the team championships at Angel Stadium. On June 2nd, she participated at the team championships at Angel Stadium and placed third in her age division. Kaylee will be in seventh grade at Woodcrest Junior High and plays in the Chino Girls Fast Pitch 12 and under division on the team's All-Stars. Kaylee, we have a certificate of recognition to present to you this evening, and it reads, "Congratulations on placing third in the 12-year-old division of the Major League Baseball's Pitch, Hit, and Run Team Championships competition." Would you like to say a few words this evening? Go ahead.
Thank you.
Congrats, sweetie. Would you like to say anything about your granddaughter?
Sure. I just want to say the whole family is really proud of her. It takes a lot of hard work to get to where she's been. We wish she would have placed first at Angel Stadium, but you can't win them all. But we're still very proud of her.
You should be. Thank you very much. Next, we have the Mayor's Home Beautification Award for July. I'd like to call up Sergio Rodriguez of 6525 Hamilton Street in Chino. Are you here, Mr. Rodriguez? Oh, apparently not. Apparently you couldn't make it. Well, we have a picture of his beautiful home that you see on the screen. We also have a pen for him and a lapel pin, as well as, of course, the coveted big yard sign. So we'll be sure to get that to him. Okay, next we have the introduction of police department promotions. Our chief, Karen Comstock, could you please come up?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, and ladies and gentlemen. If I could invite all of our recent promotees to come up and join me up front here, please. Thank you, gentlemen. Come on up tonight. Absolutely. Come on. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the greatest honors I have as the Chief of Police is, first of all, hiring employees to our department, but secondly, certainly promoting them into their positions of rank and increased responsibility. And it's my honor tonight to introduce all these promotees. All of these promotions tonight were created behind retirements. Sergeant Frank Menon recently retired from the Chino Police Department, as well as Captain Keith Bissard. So I'll start with Captain Minson. He's worked for our department for several years now, worked a multitude of different assignments, including he was a traffic sergeant, worked motors, worked in our detective bureau, out of the Office of Professional Standards, and as a detective. He's presently the commanding officer of our Support Services Division. Next there is Sergeant Brian Pry. He was recruited to the department by myself, along with another team of employees back in the day. And Brian has also worked a multitude of different assignments, as well as narcotics. And his assignment prior to being promoted to sergeant was to our detective bureau. And presently he is working in patrol as a field sergeant. To his left is Corporal Steve Beckman. Steve came to us by the way of the Colton Police Department prior to joining the Chino Police Department. And since his time with our agency, one of his finest assignments to date has been as one of our canine handlers. Steve has distinctly been a leader in that program, and because of his leadership to some of our younger handlers, lots of times being promoted means you have to give up your dog as part of that promotion. But Steve is going to be allowed to work his police service dog for a period of time in his promotion. Next to his left is actually Lieutenant Ryan Crowley. I'm proud to say that I helped recruit Ryan Crowley to the police department. That just, I guess, basically makes me officially an old chick. But Ryan has worked for our department for many, many years. One of the things that Ryan is certainly well known for is his training background. Ryan can be certainly credited with moving a lot of our training concepts and our training program and cadre forward to date in its current state. I'm very, very proud to have him as a member of our command, moving into the position of a lieutenant. He is presently assigned to our patrol operations as well as a watch commander. To his left is Corporal Jason Larkin. And prior to joining the Chino Police Department, Corporal Larkin actually served in the United States Army for several years. So Jason came to us immediately after leaving the United States Army. We're very, very proud of his service, not just to our country, but to our department. Jason has a very, very vast background in advanced narcotics investigations. We're very proud of him. Upon being promoted, he spent just a few days in patrol and was then transferred into our detective bureau. And certainly last but not least, Corporal Toby Ravelis. Toby came to us via the way of the San Bernardino Police Department. Toby has a background in special enforcement investigations. Some of you know that he was one of our resident experts actually in some of our massage establishments. He also has a background in narcotics. And Toby has been promoted and is now back working in patrol as a corporal. He's also one of our field training officers, presently training some of our newer police officers that joined the department. I know that each of these employees is going to be successful in these promotions. Thank you, Council, for your support of the police department, and I wish them all continued success in their new assignments. Congratulations, gentlemen.
Fantastic. We're so proud of each and every one of you. Our community is truly blessed to have you all on board. Glad you get to stay with your dog.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for coming this evening. Thank you, Chief. Okay, next, I'd like to call up Mr. Mike Kolling, who is our Capital Projects Manager. I have a presentation to Mike. I have to laugh because Mike is probably one of the most humble, quiet men I've ever known in my life. Mike is retiring after 29 years with our community. And I have to tell you, there is probably not a public building or park in the city of Chino that Mike hasn't either built, remodeled, refurbished, or in some way touched. His communications are fantastic, even though he's very, very quiet. He's able to get a very difficult job done always with excellence. There isn't anything in this community, I think, that has impacted our citizenry more than the work that Mike has done. And his efforts and his impact on our community will be felt by our citizens for generations, literally. You look at Iola Park, you look at the NAC, you look at the community building, you look at the Carolyn Owens building. I could just go on and on. The memorial for our veterans. Just, Mike, you have touched us all very, very deeply over the years. He's so quiet. And it's a pleasure, in a way, to present this city tile to you, to recognize your 29 years of dedicated service to the city of Chino. But it's also bittersweet, because we're going to miss this valuable man. He loves camping, and I think, if I remember correctly, his lifetime goal is to visit every national park in the United States, correct? And how far are you in that quest?
Halfway there.
Halfway there. Mike, please say a few words.
Once again, I've been warned not to talk as much as I did at my retirement party. Earl smacked me upside the head if I do. But once again, I want to thank the city for giving me the opportunity to be here for 29 years and the opportunity to do and provide me with the work and the opportunities to do the projects that I've been able to work on. Council's been wonderful to work with. Staff's been wonderful. Everybody here has been wonderful. I can't imagine working for a better agency and without the gray hair, but
It used to be
I still got some hair left, but it's been wonderful. I can't imagine. It's going to be an interesting transition to retirement, but I am looking forward to it. So, but thanks again for everything. Thank you all staff. You've been awesome to work with. I couldn't ask for a better group of people to work with. So thank you very much.
He also had a fantastic boss. At his retirement, there was testimony there from some of the employees that worked for him. And you're very, very highly thought of, Mike. Thank you very much. Mike, why are you leaving already?
It's off work.
Says he has to check the air conditioning. Oh, my goodness. We will miss him. Okay, we did have closed session, so this is reconvening after closed session, of course. I'd like to call upon our city attorney, Fred Galante, to report out of closed session.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council and audience. The city council met in closed session to discuss the only item on the closed session agenda, namely conference with legal counsel existing litigation under the case entitled Chino Basin Municipal Water District versus City of Chino and additional parties. City Council received an update, provided direction, and no further reportable action was taken. That concludes the report out of closed session, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Fred. Next on the agenda is public communication. This is the time and the place for the general public to address the council on items that are not on the agenda. We can't take action on anything that's not on the agenda, but we can hear your concerns. First, I'd like to call up Mr. Dennis Hostetler from the Calvary Chapel, Chino Hills. At this time, anyone who would like to join us in prayer, please stand.
Thank you for the opportunity to pray. Would you all please join me in bowing your heads? Almighty God, maker of heaven and earth, first, dear Lord, we want to say thank you on behalf of Mayor Eunice Aloa and the members of our city council. And we ask that you would bless them, Lord, for their long hours as they serve, and remind us to encourage them for their service and leadership. Lord, as citizens of our community, we thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work and for the honor of bearing appropriate responsibilities and the liberty to live and worship you according to the dictates of our conscience. In the scriptures, you have said that supplications, prayers, intercessions, and giving of thanks should be made for all men and for kings and all those in authority, that we might lead a quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and reverence. Therefore, we as citizens, we ought to obey these governing authorities that you have established to promote peace, justice, and the rule of law. Therefore, we pray for our mayor, we pray for the various levels of city officials, and in particular for this honored assembled council. We are asking that you would grant them wisdom to govern amid conflicting interests and the changing issues of our times. Lord, we ask that you would grant them a sense of the general welfare and the true needs of our city. And Lord, an authentic thirst for justice and rightness and the ability to work together in unity, even when there are honest disagreements. And we ask also, Lord, for our council, that you would grant them personal peace in their lives and their families, and that you would give them purpose in their daily task. And we pray for the agenda set before them today. Please give them an assurance that of what would benefit those who live and work in our beloved city of Chino. We pray that, Lord, that you would keep us all in your light until our work here is done and until your kingdom comes. And we pray all these things in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Hostetler. Prior to calling up those that turned in written requests to speak, I'd like to ask our city manager to please inform the public about an upcoming meeting regarding the state's proposed mental health facility at the California Institution for Men here in Chino.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. Last week, the city received notice that the California Department of Corrections is proposing to build a permanent 50-bed mental health crisis facility on the grounds known as the California Institution for Men, or commonly referred to as CIM, or the Chino Prison. It's located just south of Ayala Park and Chaffey College. We want our community members to be aware that the state is initiating the environmental review process and is hosting a scoping meeting on Thursday, July 26th at 6 p.m. at the Chaffey College Community Center located at 5890 College Park Avenue. Those in attendance will have an opportunity to provide both verbal and written comments to the California Department of Corrections. Written comments must be submitted prior to August 13th. A copy of the notice will be posted on the city's website, and correspondence should be sent to the attention of Robert Sleppy from the Department of Corrections. His contact information is on the notice. We encourage community members to attend this meeting and provide your input on the subject matter. Specifically identify potential impacts that the state would research prior to considering such a facility. As you're aware, CIM is one of the oldest correctional facilities in the state of California. The city has expressed ongoing concerns with the current condition or poor condition of the facility. Our position is, prior to entertaining the development of a mental health crisis facility, the city is demanding that the state first address the decades of accumulated deferred maintenance at CIM. So with that, I kind of concludes my report.
Thank you, Matt. I thought it was very important that the public know about this hearing that's upcoming next week. Okay, our first written request to speak this evening is Tony Ozeda, and the subject is drug-free Chino.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you, Mayor, and greetings to all the council members, city officials, law enforcement, and fire department. I started coming here a couple of months ago through my church, Victory Outreach, Chino, up the street. And in sitting here, listening to what's going on in the city, and always being involved for the last 5 years in the city, I was really touched by the parks. I visited some of the parks, but the recognition that was given to the Parks Department. And what triggered my thought was I just left the homeless shelter in Pomona. I was a mentor there, and they're relocating just 6-7 minutes away from here, and they're going to triple in size. Right now they let 120 people sleep inside, but there's about an additional 60 that pitch their tents, don't want to program, but it's a safe area. The police department does not go around them, so they just tent hop, and do their drugs all night long. Well, that's going to be coming into all the neighboring cities really soon. So I had recently joined the outreach team at my employer, which is Social Model Recovery Systems, and they also do mental health. So we're looking for other outlets to help different cities. So what I did is I contacted program coordinator Colin Womer, who's with me here, in regards to maybe proposing, actually, what they're doing in Anaheim. It's a drug-free Anaheim. So I've contacted the chief of police and left some literature for some of the council members to see how we can try to prevent it. I've been involved in the streets for about 40 years in all areas: gang prevention, intervention, drug, formerly incarcerated individuals, lifers, everything. And I'm proposing that we do a preventive program here in the city of Chino. I don't live here yet because I take care of my mom in Fontana, but I will soon be here. But I've been here for 5 years in the streets through the church. So I want to thank you for that, and my associate is here also if there's any questions or he wants to speak.
Thank you, Tony. Councilman George?
So now the armory is getting ready to close down,
Correct.
and they're moving down to the old diversified paratransit, the old taxi facility.
East End and Mission?
Right.
Yes.
And now, is that going to change the tent hopping? Is that going to change, is that area going to?
No, the tent hopping and all that, you know, I'm very familiar with the modus operandi, the methods of drug addicts, and they're going to find ways. They're going to search out the different pockets of the city, so they're going to find ways to make a home.
It's impacting everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Colin Wormer?
Mayor, City Council, it's an honor to be here. I'm Colin Wilmer. I'm the project coordinator for the drug-free Anaheim program. Basically, the mayor in Anaheim was looking for a way of treating the opiate epidemic that was flaring up. He learned about an organization called PARI, which is Police Assisted Recovery Initiative. Police officers as being first responders in drug cases, and oftentimes that's the clientele that they work with. We found we're a fantastic resource in order to get these people over the edge to put into treatment rather than just the revolving jail system, you know, that many of these officers have seen repeat offenders 30, 40 times during their careers. And that's kind of where I come in. So basically, Drug Free Anaheim works as I ride with some of the outreach officers that they have there. I'm available to the station 24/7. But anytime that they get an addict that's requesting help or that the officers can, you know, conceivably convinced to the need to help, they call me out. And I do not criticize the officers. I've discovered that police officers are actually just therapists with badges and guns. The work that they do in talking with the people that they come across in the streets is beyond some of the clinical staffing that I've worked with in the last 18 years, truly. So basically they get me involved and I help place them. I work as a referral service, basically, more or less. What we're proposing for Chino, you know, sitting down hearing what some of the needs are. Obviously Anaheim, the homeless population is just exploded beyond capacity. You know, so we may need to tweak some of the ideas of what I've done in Anaheim. But just to give you an idea whether the program works, whether an addict would ever actually reach out to an officer for help. I started the program in January last year. I've had over 400 participants reach out, and that's through the hard work of really the officers in that community. I think, you know, initially some were somewhat resistant, thinking, well, we're here to uphold the law, not to really offer therapy, you know, which is basically what they now do. But it works, you know, and it works well. My success rate through 90-day follow-up calls with my participants is an over 50% success rate, which is better than dang near any treatment program you're going to find in the States. You know, so it's pretty simple. You know, any addict can reach out to an officer to get help, you know.
It sounds very interesting. Tony mentioned that I guess both of you or one of you has already been talking to the chief. Yes. It'll be great to hear progress and what's happening. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is Sylvia Orosco, Chino Valley Unified School District.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, Sylvia Orosco with the Chino Valley Unified School District Board Member. I simply wanted to take the opportunity to introduce to you and to the city our new superintendent. Dr. Norm Infield has been with our district for 11 years. He previously served as Director for HR, Assistant Superintendent for HR, Deputy Superintendent, and just like I said, July 1 was hired as our new superintendent. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to introduce him, and hopefully he has something.
Yeah. Good evening. Good evening, Mayor, council members. I want to thank you for letting me give me the opportunity to speak here tonight. I want to tell you I'm extremely excited to be the new superintendent of Chino Valley Unified School District. And as I walked up here, you notice the signs up here that says Chino is one of the top 100 cities in the United States. And that doesn't happen by accident. I was thinking about that. It happens because of the leadership up here and also the leadership throughout the whole city. I know as the incoming superintendent, I couldn't ask for or receive any better service from the Chino Police Department under the leadership of Chief Comstock and the men and women of the Chino Police Department, and they're phenomenal. They protect and serve our students at all times. Also, the relationships that we have with our after-school programs and our partnerships, the partnership with our Hope Center, again, those are partnerships I, as a superintendent, want to commit to still working together with the city to provide the highest level of services for our students and for our parents and for our communities, which makes this a great city. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you for being here this evening, and thank you for the comments.
All right, thank you.
Welcome aboard. You notice he has dark hair now, right? Okay. We'll invite him back in a year.
Yeah.
It's a stressful job. Okay, those are the only written requests that we have this week. Are there any other audience attendees that would like to comment on anything that's not on the agenda?
Hey, good evening, Mayor, Council, and City staff. Thank you for letting me speak. I was coming from a club meeting, so I didn't get to turn in the yellow card. But I'm here to invite everybody to
Tell the audience your name.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Paula. I'm here on behalf of Assemblymember Freddie Rodriguez, and I'm here to invite everyone to the 5th Annual Summer Barbecue and Open House, which is occurring this Saturday from 11 to 1:30 p.m. And it's going to be at Aguirre Square, which is right behind the district office and the Chino Chamber of Commerce. So it's welcome, everyone's welcome. There's going to be food, music, activities for the kids, and we're going to be honoring several community leaders, community members who've done a lot for the district, including the city of Chino. So other than that, I have invitations for all of you. I will leave flyers at the front. So
Okay,
thank you
very
so much.
good. A couple of us attended last year, and it was a very nice event. Pardon me? Yeah, it was hot. It's going to be hot this Saturday, too. Okay, if that's all the public comment, then we will move on to the consent calendar. This evening, we're going to be pulling item number 25 and referring it back to staff. I'm also requesting to pull item 2, 5, and 18 for separate action. We're also going to be pulling item number 12 per public request for comment. So is there a motion for the balance of the consent calendar? There's a motion from Councilman George, second from Councilman Elrod. The balance of the consent calendar passes unanimously. Item number 2 were the minutes of the regular meeting on June 19th, and I was absent, so I will be abstaining. Is there a motion? Motion from Mayor Pro Tem Howie, second from Councilman Elrod. Oops, wait. I goofed. It's supposed to be 4 yes and 1 abstention. Item number 5. This is the City Council meeting date change for August 2018. I'm asking that this be pulled to make sure the audience knows that we're changing the date and the time. So I'd ask for a report from Councilman. City Manager Ballantyne.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. In the past, or last year, in the first meeting of August, the police department hosted a national night out. And at that time, many of the council members expressed interest in participating in these events, and it's throughout our community and many of our neighborhoods. So as a result, we are moving the meeting. Instead of having our regular meeting on August 7th, we are looking to move the meeting to Monday, August 13th. And then also due to personal conflicts, we were going to cancel the last meeting in August. So the only meeting that the city council is going to host for the month of August will be Monday, August 13th. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Matt. Is there a motion? Maybe. Okay, the item's been moved by Councilman George, second from Councilman Elrod. Passes unanimously on the date change. Next item that's being pulled is item number 12. This is an approval of 2 settlement claims. The requester to have this pulled is Mr. Stubby Barr, and our staff report this evening will be provided by our Director of Human Resources Risk Management, Anthony Arroyo.
Actually, Mayor, if you don't mind, I'll just go ahead and provide the report. We had two lawsuits that were filed. One was the Lamplighter project, which included, basically it was a land use decision, and that was initiated, that whole project, back in, I think it was like 2007. We went through mediation, and essentially we're settling that, and the agreement is attached to the staff report at the tune of $1.15 million. The second claim, or actually litigation that was initiated, was associated with a city employee and a traffic accident in a city vehicle on the 60 freeway, and that's being settled for $40,000. And that agreement is also attached to the staff report, and that concludes our report.
Okay, Stubby, did you want to make any comments?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, is this on? Okay. I just wanted to make sure that this is the end of Lamplighter, hopefully. And it isn't presented on the consent calendar in a way that people would know that this is the Lamplighter case. I just wanted to, and I thank you, Matt, for the
Okay.
report.
Thank you, Stubby.
Thank you.
Okay, then a motion would be appropriate, and I too hope this is the end of this.
Just as a note, as you're voting, this is a complete termination of that legal action. The settlement agreement releases all claims.
I sure hope so, but you know, bad pennies seem to turn up every once in a while. Okay, there's a motion from Mayor Pro Tem Howie, second from Councilman Elrod, and the item passes unanimously. Okay, number 18, I requested to have pulled. This is professional services agreement, David Church and Associate. I'd like to ask for a staff report, and that would be from our city manager, Matt Valentine.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. Last year, the council gave direction to staff to go out and solicit proposals from federal lobbyists. And at that time, David Church and Associates was awarded that contract at the tune of $60,000. Part of that approval, the council requested that it come back and that the city council review that contract and entertain whether or not they want to proceed with renewing. It's important to note that during the year, Church and Associates have facilitated meetings with federal agencies, provided grant funding opportunities, and assisted with meetings associated with the Army Corps of Engineers pertaining to Pine Avenue. There's some of the tasks that they had provided. So with that, that concludes our report.
Okay, thank you very much. I had objected to the contract last year because I felt that while it's nice to have a contact in Washington, D.C., it never seems to lead to any financial benefit for the city, and it's a $60,000 contract. Indeed, we've had this contract now for the last year, and although there have been meetings that were facilitated, again, it's $60,000 without any direct benefit. Pine Avenue was mentioned, and Supervisor Hagman has been very active in Pine Avenue. Several of the council members have been meeting with Chino Hills on this, as well as other people in Majestic. Majestic Realty Co. has also been really pushing for the Pine Avenue extension to benefit some land that they own. I feel that when it comes to grants, our staff is on top of available items to apply for grants. So even though I know Mr. Church's organization provides lists of grants available to apply for, I think our own staff is already on it. So it's just it's a personal feeling of mine that I think we could use that money for something better, but we'll see what the discussion is this evening. Any council comments?
Yeah, I have a question.
Mr. Elrod?
In the letter you have the letter of David Church. It says, we are also working to ensure the Federal Highway Administration's estimated $4.25 million funding balance for the Pine Avenue extension is not lost. Have we not been doing the proper work for that? Because Dennis and I went up to Washington and got $9 million. So we spent half of it, or?
No, we have. We've spent at least half of it doing the environmental work.
Okay.
But after a certain amount of time, the feds will want to rescind the money, and that's what we're trying to protect.
Okay, what's the next step for us? What do we have to do to file or spend the money?
We need to complete the environmental and get the whole thing through to Caltrans.
Do we have a timing on it?
So, you know the rough time?
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Jose Illyria, Assistant City Manager and Director of Public Works. Yes, we've been working with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and Caltrans on this project for several years, and we've encountered several delays due to responses from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. We are now starting to move forward. We just got direction to do an analysis for them. The documents, most of the environmental documents are now with Caltrans, and we have a long list that they're reviewing. It's going to take Caltrans close to probably 8 months to a year to complete that review. They, again, also are looking to the Corps for information. Once the analysis with the Corps is done, that'll release us to finish the rest of the environmental documents. It comes down to the Corps response on it. So, you know, in a year, we're going to know more information, but it's not going to happen in a matter of months. Again, we need direction from the Corps. At the end of it all, we need a permit from the Corps to construct a road on Corps property, and that is the real challenge.
The easement on it?
Yes, we need an easement. Orange County Flood Control District has properties that we're going to need easements from. There's private properties. And then the Corps, because it's in the inundation zone, we need permission to put Pine Avenue within their property.
There have been many, many meetings
Oh, I know.
regarding this. Has Turch and Associates actually been involved in this? I know you have been. I know the city has been. I know Chino Hills has been.
Majestic.
And Majestic has been. How has Turch and Associates been involved?
Turch has been involved since the beginning of this project. They've always kept us informed of any critical milestones that are occurring in the federal government over the years, which triggered us to respond to certain requests from Federal Highway Administration.
Pine Avenue?
Pardon?
With Pine
With
Avenue?
Pine Avenue, yes, with Pine Avenue, and I'm specifically speaking about Pine Avenue. Most recently, it came to our attention of what City Manager Matt Ballantyne was mentioning, that the safety lieu money that is earmarked, the money that you got for us in Washington, the federal government is looking to sunset those projects. We then went to the Corps and stressed the importance of them issuing letters to us acknowledging the importance that they are reviewing a project, which gave us a little more time, but it's still not enough to carry the day. We're still working feverishly with the Corps. David Turch and Associate brings these kind of things to our attention, make sure that we're processing the proper documents. And over this past year, they have attended meetings at the U.S. Army Corps with us to make sure they're well informed to continue assisting the city of Chino as they need in Washington, D.C., and speaking on our behalf over there, since we're not there present every single day. So they have been involved is my answer on that.
Well, these consulting contracts, I'd rather see work backwards. Show me the money and I'll pay you 10%. I mean, it's always at the end of the year when the contract is renewed, here comes the carrot, hold it in front of you, and we're gonna do this, and it never happens. So I can't support this, I'm sorry, but to me, our staff should be on top of it. We shouldn't have to rely on him, especially when we've already gotten money. Now, we've been sitting on that money, that was just after 9/11, we got that money, I believe. I'm pretty sure it was, we went up there. Well, I know it was, because they were telling the stories that, the Capitol shut down and all that, so that's been a long time.
I believe, if memory serves right, you're right, it's been a long time. That safety loo bill was approved in 2006 or 2007 fiscal year, and then over the next 2 years, staff worked on getting the documents together to start using that money.
Well, in my point of view, and I was going to talk about it later, but our 4th of July thing is going so well. We had over 15,000 people there, and we're sort of doing it on the cheap. I'd rather see that money go there and upgrade everything and provide a lot of services that we haven't been able to provide, like ADA and things of that sort. And I'd rather see the money go there, because I don't think right now Washington, D.C. is functional at all. So that's just my opinion.
Okay, Councilman Rodriguez?
Thinking about what I've heard right now and even before knowing, being proactive for the future, yes, we can see that now we somewhat are not functioning well, dysfunctional at federal level in many areas. But I think having a voice, being able to have a voice that can report and support us and give us that information is extremely important. We don't know what the future is going to hold. So to have someone there to be able to report back to us on a regular basis I would be in favor of that. Other thing would be rotation of council members to go. Not having the same ones always going, but also reporting back on a regular basis as to, okay, this is what's happening, or this is what's coming down the pipeline with federal aid would be very good. But sharing of knowledge is extremely very, very good. The experience of coming back and saying, look, this is what what they've done. This is what we understand is in the pipeline to happen in the future. It's being proactive. This is the way I see it. So I would be in favor of going along with the lobbyist.
Okay. Any other comments? Councilman George?
Okay, Eunice, I do agree with you on the fact that we have opened doors with Congresswoman Torres, both locally and back in Washington. But the last time that we went out there to Washington, D.C. for the National League of Cities meeting and meetings with various organizations in Washington, D.C., I was really impressed with one of the meetings that they set up for with the Federal Highway Administration, the U.S. Department of Transportation, which hadn't been open to us before. And in fact, they were so impressed with what we had on the shelf, how close we were, for this project, that they talked to us about the Tiger grant, the Transportation Investment Generating Economic Recovery Tiger program, to where I think, and Valentine, you can correct me on this, I think we are in the process of submitting a grant that could bring us up to $20 million. That's why, Earl, we don't want to do 10%. $20 million.
I'd do 10% if we get it. I don't want to pay $60,000
I wouldn't give
and not
10%
get it.
for $20 million. But but I agree. I would have to see, hopefully that does come through. And we'll have to see what holds. But it's, they opened that door, and I really, I was impressed with that.
Mayor Pro Tem Howie?
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, Turch and Associates, I think, has been instrumental in helping us identify this new Tiger grant money. The federal government had doubled the amount. In the last few years, they'd cut the amounts of transportation funding. And recently, they doubled the amount, and the meeting that they helped us set up with the Department of Transportation, really, it was the best meeting I've ever been to in D.C. in the fact that we showed that we had a project that's within a couple of years of being shelf ready. We have a significant amount of funding where we didn't have the funding before, and nobody was really talking to us because they always want to know, well, what are you going to put in? What are we going to put in? And so this is a good opportunity, and Church and Associates have been very instrumental with us helping doing the grant writing and helping us. Now, you know, our staff is fantastic, but it's pretty difficult to keep track of all these grants. Our staff is very, very extremely busy in running the city. I think it's important that we have a federal presence. It's pretty crazy in Washington, D.C. right now. And this particular firm has been instrumental in helping us not only look at new grants and funding, but also in this $4.25 million that we're in jeopardy of losing. I know that they've contacted Highway about this, looking to see if there's an extension possible. I also know that they've been talking to Caltrans in Sacramento because there's a connect there between the feds and the state. A lot of money goes from the feds to the state, and then it gets dispersed to the cities. So it's important that we have some help in this area. It's difficult to get money out of the federal government. I understand that, but we are in a possible jeopardy of losing $4 million, and we need a presence in D.C. And I think it's important that we continue this this particular contract. That's what I have to say.
Okay, Mr. Ballantyne, so that Tiger grant that we've applied for is $20 million?
We are in the process of submitting it. Right now, we're going through the numbers, but it will be in excess of 20, because the project overall is more than 45. I know it's included in our DIF program at the tune of $18 million, and I believe also Chino Hills has in their program $4.7 million. But the grant itself, it's highly competitive. There's only a certain number of projects that are awarded the grant, but we'll be submitting, and it'll be in excess of $20 million if we were successful.
Are we applying in partnership with Chino Hills?
That's all inclusive, yes.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, then a motion would be appropriate. Okay, there's a motion from Councilman George, second from Mayor Pro Tem Howie. And the item passes 3 yes, 2 no, the noes being myself and Mr. Elrod. It would be nice if Mr. Church would give us a monthly report or something so that we know what's going on.
I think we're getting weekly, our city manager, Matt, are we getting weekly reports or reports from Church's office?
We can certainly make that
We just haven't been
available.
getting.
Yeah.
I have not received
We
it.
haven't seen it.
Well, we should,
Well,
the
we were
council.
supposed to get quarterly reports last time. I think I got 1 or 2 reports.
We'll make that known.
Okay.
And I think to add, once we get that report, is to report to the community at the council shortly, synopsis or something.
If I may, Madam Mayor, is that something you'd like to see added in the contract? I know you voted on this, but you
Yes,
could
I think it
certainly
would be
communicate that.
appropriate.
That'd be good.
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we did last year.
Monthly reports?
yes. Next on the agenda is public hearing. This is the time and the place for members of the audience to have an opportunity to address the council on any items under public hearing. Okay, item number 27, Landscape and Streetlight Maintenance District Assessment for fiscal year 2018 and 19. I'd like to open the public hearing and then ask for a staff report from our Public Works Services Manager, Mr. David McAbee.
Good evening, Mayor and members of City Council. The city has formed 6 landscape and streetlight maintenance assessment districts under authority of the Landscaping and Lighting Act of 1972 of the California Streets and Highways Code. The districts are as follows: 75-1, 75-2, 76-1, 76-2, 83-2, and 2002-1. Each year, the City Council reviews these districts and holds a public hearing to set the assessment rates. Of the 6 districts, only District 2002-1 has a consumer price index escalator that allows the city to adjust the assessment rates. For fiscal year 2018-19, the CPI is 0.916%, which results in a slight increase for this district. At the June 5th, 2018 council meeting, the City Council adopted 3 resolutions, which consisted of the following: direct staff to file the annual report, approve the engineer's report, and declare intention to order improvements for the 6 assessment districts and schedule a public hearing. A public hearing is required as part of the process to levy the annual assessments and provide the opportunity for all interested persons to comment on this matter. Therefore, staff recommends conducting the public hearing tonight, adopting resolution number 2018-045, confirming the assessments and directing the city clerk to file a certified copy of the diagram and assessments with the county auditor controller. That concludes my report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any members of council have questions of staff? Okay, then, I would like to ask if there's any input from our audience members. Any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, then we'll close the public hearing. Any questions of staff? I know we heavily subsidize a lot of these landscape and maintenance districts. And I understand that we're working toward trying to remedy that situation so that they're self-sustainable.
That's correct.
This again, is a lot of money that could go toward other public benefit other than subsidizing these.
A lot of those contracts were done in the 60s and 70s.
You know, now we have a CPI, I think, in the new ones, but didn't have it then.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I have a question. I went through this, and the equestrian sections, most of this, I'm assuming because they aren't where we have equestrian trails, there was zero allocated, and some of them were. What is the money for on the, or how is the money for on the equestrian trails?
So I'm sorry.
There's some of the districts have an allotted amount for equestrian trails, or I'm assuming upkeep for equestrian trails, and some of them don't. I'm assuming that's because they don't have that part in that part of the city. But
Correct.
What is involved in the maintenance of an equestrian trail?
It's sort of would be the same as maintaining the parkway or the right-of-way in the maintenance district. Keeping it clean, weed-free, keeping the fences up. Some of the districts don't have an equestrian trail, or some of the newer districts, we only annex in street lighting. So some will not have. They may have maybe a horse trail, but we won't actually maintain it as part of the maintenance district.
They may have the trail, but we won't maintain it?
Correct. We only annex in currently street lighting.
An example of that would be up where I live. There's a horse trail on the CNL homes that are up there, but they were all privately owned. And there's no homeowners association, so it's up to each homeowner to maintain that trail. Some of it's maintained very nice, some of it isn't.
Yeah, that's what
I know Norton and Riverside Drive, that track in there had internal horse trails behind the houses, and I think we reversed that, didn't we?
We have a track where Glenn used to live where the trail is in the front.
Yeah, but I'm talking about Riverside Drive Norton.
Oh, I'm not sure.
I remember something about that because they were having trouble, number one, keeping it up. We had no control over it. It was up to them to do it, and it just went to heck.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Maintain some art.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, then a motion would be appropriate. Motion from Councilman George, second from Mayor Pro Tem Howie, and the item passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is under new business. Item number 28, purchase order, police and public works vehicles. Staff report again will be from our Public Works Service Manager, Mr. Dave Bankaby.
Thank you, Mayor. The Fleet Division of the Public Works Department is responsible for the maintenance, repair, and replacement of all city vehicles and equipment. As part of this fiscal year's replacement list, 8 police vehicles and 2 public works vehicles are scheduled for replacement. Also, as approved in the fiscal year 2018-19 budget, 1 additional police patrol vehicle will be purchased and added to the fleet. Specifications were prepared for these 11 vehicles and consist of the following: 1 2019 Ford 3/4-ton pickup, 1 2019 Chevrolet Impala, 1 2019 Ford Interceptor Explorer unmarked vehicle, and 8 2019 Ford Interceptor utility patrol vehicles. Staff contacted National Auto Fleet Group of Watsonville, California, under contract number 120716 NAF, and requested pricing utilizing the nationwide competitive bid process through the National Joint Powers Alliance. National Auto Fleet Group's pricing has been reviewed and approved by city staff. Therefore, staff recommends that City Council approve a purchase order to National Auto Fleet Group of Watsonville, California, in the amount of $443,342.67. That concludes my report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dave. Mr. Elrod?
Yes, did we go to our agencies here in town to get a bid? Or did
For,
we-
for this particular one, we went through National Joint Powers.
Well, I thought we had a, what do you call it, policy to check with our vendors first.
And we do put bids out for certain vehicles for certain local vendors. Like currently, we have bids out now for other vehicles that they could potentially bid on.
Can we go to them now and see what they can do on this contract?
We can, however, we would not be able to order these vehicles because of the cutoff dates in the factory, so we would have to postpone it maybe 5 months or so till the next factory build dates, and then we could restart that process.
Okay, this Watsonville thing, is this a company that goes nationwide that gets bids? Is that what it is?
This is a part of the National Joint Powers Alliance. Fred may want to.
Yeah, so generally if
How do they make their money is I'm asking a question. How would they make
They
their
just
money?
pre-negotiate these rates that then they offer, generally when you're part of these national bidding alliances, you keep the rates stable to the negotiated rates, so they've already been deemed a low competitive bid. So they still make a return on the pricing, but it's a negotiated rate for any agency wanting to take advantage of that.
Well, I hope in the future that we check with our guys first.
And it's the council's prerogative if you want to not go through.
Well, we used to do that.
Negotiate.
We used to do that. And there was a margin, 5% or something.
Isn't it,
Five-
was it
10?
10%?
Yeah, they could be 10% higher.
I think it was 10. Wasn't it 10 if we buy local?
5%, Madam Mayor.
5, I'm sorry. Okay, 5%.
So,
I just don't know where that changed. That's my question.
Well, I think staff tries to take advantage of any opportunity for
Well, I understand
cost
that, but
savings.
we also have policy here that we're discussing.
Yeah.
And when you got somebody saying you're getting the best deal in the world, I get nervous.
Yeah, well, that's
You
when we
know.
competitive bid, I think, is when we apply the 5%. True. We put it out for,
Correct, and that applies to a local vendor that would be within the city.
yeah. So these, when you went out to purchase these, or did you go out to actual bid on these vehicles?
Not for
You did
these
so
vehicles.
they
We have
could-
other vehicles that are currently out to bid,
Uh-huh.
but not this specific lot of vehicles.
And who makes that decision, Dave?
Staff makes that decision, and basically we've used this process before, last year as well, for these same type of vehicles, and a lot of it truly has to do with just the cutoff dates for the vehicles.
I
Our
see.
fiscal year starts July, but a lot of the cutoff dates, especially for the police vehicles, cut off at that same time, and now we have to wait till the next factory build dates. So that would push us potentially back several months.
Because they build these differently, obviously, than public vehicles.
Correct, and the build dates change every year, so we never know exactly when that's gonna stop.
I see. Any other questions of staff?
yes.
Mr. George?
Is a local dealership like MK Smith, are they part of that national database?
For the National Joint Powers Alliance?
I mean, when you say national database, I'm assuming that means dealers all over the country.
National Auto Fleet Group.
National Auto Fleet Group.
Yeah, it's not a database.
I believe have the ability to see it. I do not know if they have the ability to bid on it as well. I do not know that. But that I don't know. I can find out and report back.
One quick question, Dave. I hate to put you on the spot, but how many vehicles does the city have total, would you say?
Today, we have 228,
228?
just vehicles.
Just vehicles?
Correct.
And so how many vehicles are we going to buy this year, and would it be a normal year, or?
This year, we have 32 vehicles.
Okay.
31 plus the addition of the one patrol
So
vehicle.
this is about a third of our annual purchase for this year, 11 vehicles out of 32.
Right, so which is actually which is similar to the last couple years, actually, in the amount that we've purchased.
Hey, we got a
For
lot
our
of-
size
we got a
fleet.
lot of vehicles.
Right,
It's a lot of tires and brakes, I imagine, huh?
correct.
Well, and thank goodness we're turning over the police vehicles better than we did about 20 or 30 years ago. Because I remember the some of the
Well, that was-
laughter on the street was the undercover police cars. You just had to listen and hear them squeaking down the street.
Not unless
So-
it's changed. But
Thank goodness.
when I researched it and everything back then, there's a certain time you can turn a car in like 60,000 miles and get another one. You get more money and you keep updated on the vehicle. Is that correct, Chief? That's how it was set up when I was in on the deal.
Well, and our public works staff, and including our police staff, they have a lengthy discussion on what vehicles are to be replaced. And typically, we're turning over those vehicles anywhere from 5 to 7 years. But we try to extend the life as best we can, but we also do depreciate them over that period.
When I first
And
got
then
up-
as far,
Mike Kolling, he drove an old Caprice, I think it was an 85 Caprice, because he liked the car and didn't want a new one. He drove that thing forever.
But overall, it is a competitive bid process. They just establish these rates that everybody that can join this can enjoy that rate. And certainly, it's more of a timing issue. I mean, we can probably have the car in place and retrofitted much quicker than if we, bid them individually. But we hear what the council is saying. The ordinance, it doesn't necessarily dictate that we are obligated to do that, but we understand that that's the council's preference.
Do we pay sales tax on those vehicles?
Yes, we do.
So if we bought them locally, we would have to figure that in on the price?
Yes.
It would be a
That's correct.
refund, basically.
Some of it, because we don't get it all.
1%, okay.
6%.
One quick
Yes.
question. I hate to put you on the spot again. This is the last
No,
one.
you don't.
Well, actually, I
Otherwise
don't.
you wouldn't
That's
ask.
true, I don't. How many miles is a police car on patrol? Here comes the chief. Look, you're going to get off this.
It's okay.
You're looking up. How many miles does one police car in over a year? How many miles do they put on the vehicle?
Oh, okay.
Oh my, a year. I would say within a 4 to 5 year period, most of our police cars can have somewhere between 60 to 70,000 miles on them. We're putting, quite a few. It's not just the miles; it's the idling, it's the type of miles, it's the heavy braking, it's the what we call an impending brake scale. We can get quite a few miles on the car. And to address your question, Councilman Elrod, you're correct. We used to go by a mileage standard for most of our cars. We would try to mileage our cars out, and then once they reached a certain mileage, we would try to repurpose those cars within the city fleet if it was appropriate. What we've done since then is gone to a standard by the American Public Works Association, which is a scorecard. And obviously a cold sedan that's being used by our detectives is going to be scored a little bit differently than a field police car, a black and white police car is being used in the field. And what that scorecard does is it gives us, based off the vehicle use, right? A specialty vehicle like a command post is going to have a longer lifespan in the fleet because of its use, versus a daily patrol car. And what that scorecard does allows us to use different factors to keep our entire fleet in a state of maintenance versus repair. Because once it starts entering into a state of repair, like your maintenance in your car as you get it as it's newer, to keep it running and functioning and turning over the proper way. And with that scorecard as well, it allows us to project out our costs from year to year for proper fleet replacement in order to budget for those things in the future. So that's what we've adopted in conjunction with Public Works for our fleet.
Mr. Howard, you had another question?
No, I just still we couldn't figure out how many miles then. Is that correct?
Yeah, this
It varies per
60,000.
Yeah, it would vary for vehicle.
Per year, miles?
Per year?
No, not per year. At the end of about a 5 to 7 year period. Yeah. And so, yeah.
Correct. Generally, they're at least 100,000 when they're replaced,
Oh, when they're replaced, correct.
if that's what you're asking. Yeah,
Or
yes.
close to it. If the vehicle starts having categorical failures or different types of failures or safety failures, we work with Public Works to identify it through that scorecard process and replace it sooner. Or if it's reaching this certain mileage, but it's still a serviceable car and is performing well, then sometimes we opt to keep it in the fleet for a year longer or so.
Okay, thank you, Karen.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, motion would be appropriate now, please. There's a motion from Councilman George, second from Mayor Pro Tem Howie. And the item passes unanimously. Item number 29, amendment to professional services agreement, Capital Improvement Project Services, LAE Associates Incorporated. Our staff report this evening will be provided by our Assistant City Manager, Public Works Director, Jose O'Leary.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. Yes, this item before you is for CIP Construction Management Services. On November 15, 2016, the City Council awarded a professional services contract with LAE and Associates in the amount of $247,600. Then on February 6, 2018, the City Council approved an amendment to that contract in the amount of $100,000. Over that time period, excuse me, LAE has been assisting staff managing several projects with a strong emphasis on water projects. Collectively, these funds were planned to last until June 30th of 2018, and that was based on multiple staff members they provided and their hourly rates. Now, recently, Public Works has issued a notice to proceed with construction for 2 contracts for water projects. Currently, we do not have enough project engineers to manage these construction contracts, continue moving other projects through design, as well as responding to several requests for project information. We are currently recruiting a new associate engineer and expect to have positive results on that in August-September timeframe of this year. For these reasons, staff is requesting a second amendment and extension in the amount of $200,000 for construction management services. Now, these funds are enough to finish these 2 construction projects, which I alluded to earlier. Now, once the city hires the new associate engineer, Public Works staff, we're going to reevaluate our contractual needs, our workload for our existing CIP project engineers, and report that to our city manager for his consideration. That concludes my report on this item, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from council? Okay, then a motion, I would entertain a motion. Motion from Mayor Pro Tem Howie, second from Councilman Elrod, and the item passes unanimously. Okay, next on the agenda is Mayor and Council reports. First, I'd like to invite everyone to come out to our last Chino Summer's Night installment this Friday night here on the City Hall lawn at 6:30.
Already here?
Already. To enjoy great food, family fun activities, retail booths, and the movie Coco. The event is free, but there's limited space, so please come out early with your lawn chairs and blankets to claim a good spot. Should anyone have any questions, please call our Community Services Department at 909-334-3258. Also, I'd like everyone to know that this week will be the second installment of the Chino Kiwanis Club's Chino Concerts on the Lawn. This is an annual series that happens every Thursday from mid-July to early August. This free event starts at 7 o'clock with multiple food vendors and, of course, outstanding tribute bands. Scheduled for this week is the band Silverados, which covers various country songs. Additionally, we have a wide range of music genres scheduled for the remainder of this summer, including 4NR, which is a foreign tribute band. Foreigner tribute.
Boy.
Oops. Foreigner tribute.
You used to make fun of Dennis, man.
Oh my goodness, I'm having a bad time tonight. Fortunate Son, a Creedence Clearwater Revival tribute. Wanted, a Bon Jovi tribute band. Bonfire, an AC/DC tribute band. All events will go until 9 p.m., so please be sure to bring a chair and a blanket. For more information, visit Chino Kiwanis Club's website at www.chinokiwanis.com. And then as far as events that I've attended since June 19th, here we go. June 20th was the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast at Denny's. June 21st was Watermaster Appropriative Pool Closed Session, Watermaster Advisory Committee meeting, Watermaster Recharge Improvements Committee, and then I had a separate meeting with Peter Kavunas, who's Watermaster General Manager, regarding items concerning Chino. Also attended a meet and greet along with staff with a new Chino company named Compliant Plastics, a plastic recycling company that will be offering quite a few employment opportunities once they're operational. June 28th was Watermaster Board of Directors, and that evening the San Antonio Water Company's General Manager, Charles Moorheath's retirement, which was held at Cable Airport. June 29th, I got to throw out the first pitch at the girls' fast pitch milk can tournament at Ayala Park.
Did you underhand it? Did you make it?
No, I didn't underhand it, but I
Did
didn't.
you catch it?
No, because I didn't quite
Make it.
Almost made it, but not quite. Dang. I know it. The weather was really nice, though. Thank goodness it wasn't hot like we've been experiencing. June 30th, of course, I, along with many council members, attended the fireworks spectacular, and I want to compliment our staff for a fantastic job on this setup. Police department did a fantastic job. They were just everywhere, and not just patrolling around, but actually talking to people, and it was a great time. And as Earl already mentioned, I think there was more than 15,000 people there. It was phenomenal. July 2nd, I attended the Pomona Purpose Church's Freedom Holy Light concert, which is directed by John Burroughs from Majestic and narrated by Talithia Williams. July 4th, Councilman George and I attended the Independence Day event at the Chino Avenue LDS Church. And I think this is my 18th year in attending, and they presented me with a framed copy of my family tree, which I didn't have. That was really nice. And I was late by a half hour because I had it written down at 8:30 and it started at 8.
Freaked me out.
I know, Gary panicked. He thought he was going to have to give a speech. July 5th was the Inland Empire Utilities Agency Sewage Policy Committee meeting, which I know Earl misses attending.
I miss it horribly.
July 6th was the Senior Citizens Center July birthday celebration. July 11th, Omnitrans Board of Directors meeting, San Bernardino County Transportation Agency's Board of Director meeting, and then I met that afternoon with Hala Raza, who's the new general manager of IEUA, to get better acquainted with her. July 12th, I attended Mike Kolling's retirement party, his luncheon after 29 years of service, and like I mentioned during the presentation of his tile plaque this evening, I don't think there is a park or a city building in this city that Mike hasn't somehow touched. He's going to really be missed, and what he has done for our community will be enjoyed for decades to come. And then that evening, I attended the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce installation dinner with other council members. And the Chino Business of the Year was Fodrill Construction Company. So we're going to be bringing her to a council meeting to congratulate her for the public. And also congratulations to Councilman George, who remains on their board of directors. July 13th was the Chino Fair Association 4-H Future Farmers of America Barbecue and Auction. This year had amazing attendance. And of course, the kids did a tremendous job with their projects. And I just can't say enough about the 4-H Club and the FFA. These organizations are really producing tomorrow's leaders. These kids are taught leadership, presentation skills, Robert's Rules of Orders to conduct meeting, accounting skills, and of course, raising of animals, which requires 24/7 responsibility that falls directly on their shoulders that they can't push off to someone else. And the results are just kids that have an incredible sense of responsibility. And then on July 16th, City Manager Ballantyne and I and our Chief of Police, Karen Comstock, met with Marianne Annapolis of the Chino Champion to talk about the mental health facility that's being proposed at CIM. That could have a very major impact on our community, and it's very important that the public know what's going on, and we really welcome your input at the scoping meeting coming up, and then also when they have their public hearing. And thank goodness that's all I have for this evening. So, Mayor Pro Tem Halley.
Thank you, Eunice. Wow, you've been really, really busy.
I know.
Not much sleeping going on, right?
Plus, I have to tell you, Bob's doing better.
Good.
Yeah, that's good.
That's
He's doing
Yeah.
better.
Good, good. All right, well, let's see, I have a few things. It's been so long since we had the last meeting, everybody's attended a lot of events, so I'll make it quick. Chino DeSalter Authority Board meeting, I attended on June 20th. Nothing really major to report there. And then it was installation of service clubs for the next on Monday, Rancho del Chino Rotary installation, where we had to say goodbye to Matt Ballantyne, outgoing president of the club. And I think it was a baseball-themed evening, and it was...
Did he cry?
Pretty close. Pretty close to crying. Yeah. But I think he was extremely happy that his presidential year ended, and he doesn't have to run the meetings anymore, so he's pretty happy. But he did a really good job for our Rotary Club. We did a lot of good in the community, and I want to thank Matt for taking on the leadership of president with no pressure at all from anybody to put on you to be president.
Right.
He
Yeah.
stepped right up. Thank you for that. And then on the next, then Seroptimus, the Chino Valley, I went to their installation. I had to go to their,
You had to
I had to
go
go
to
to
their
their
house.
installation. Was at my house, at our house. And my wife has been installed as president of the Seroptimus again, so that's an exciting time for her she really enjoys that, and it's a worthy organization for sure. So congratulations to her and good luck, because I know I'll be helping a lot. Let's see what else. The fireworks event, a great, and it was interesting because if you look at the people that were there, it was just packed with people. But as we were leaving, we got out pretty quickly. The people around the park, there's thousands of people. You don't see those people, but they're everywhere. I mean, I pulled out right at the end, and there was already tons of people walking and parked, and it's amazing how many people. I'll bet within a mile or two radius, that's where we can't even count the number of people who come out to see that show. So that was another great year, and Eunice, I'm happy you threw out the first pitch, so we'll practice for next year so you can make it all the way to the catcher. Let's see, also I attended the WFA, Water Facilities Authority, TAC meeting. It's kind of interesting because there's going to be a little bit, in the next 2 years, the Rialto feeder is going to shut down for a few months as they work on it. And we get quite a bit of water from Water Facilities Authority, so they're looking at alternative methods to obtain water for us, and that's coming up probably around 2020. And so everybody's getting excited about trying to figure out where, how we got to keep our water running. And so that's an issue. I'll report more on that as the next few months come up. Mike Kolling's retirement, another CDA board meeting, the chamber installation, the junior fair auction, and then last night, Montclair City Council meeting I attended, and they honored Mayor Paul Eaton, gave him some certificates. He couldn't make it the meeting, but his wife was there, and it was really nice. I mean, Ginger was there, and it was nice just to see people appreciate the years and years and years that man has dedicated to Montclair.
Did they say how many years?
I thought it was 35 or 40 years.
Oh, my
something
God.
like, I don't remember the exact amount, but many, many, many years. That
He'd been involved in a lot of service organizations before he was ever elected, so yeah, he's had a long.
So that was really nice. Okay, and that concludes my comments.
Okay, Councilmember Elrod.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I went to Mike Kolling's thing, and I got to tell you, I learned more at that thing than I knew about him ever, and it was really great. I mean, he was all over the place, but very quiet, stealth, and he got things done. So, I mean, I really appreciate it. I don't know if there's going to be any more buildings built around here, not unless we level this place, but he did about everything.
Oh, he was fantastic.
2 pump stations.
Still is. Oh, fire stations,
Fire
police
stations,
department.
skate park, Ayala Park, all the smaller parks.
And I guess, from what was said, I guess his most proud project was the skate park.
Yeah. Well, that was I had to fight to get that in.
Well, because your son.
Well, my son can't play sports, but he can skate.
Yes.
And they helped design it, and yeah, it was the top number 1 skate park for a long time.
Yeah.
So
I understand that.
you go by every day, and
One
there's
guy
a lot of people.
flew out from New York just to skate on it.
Yeah, that was a good deal. I'm proud of that one. The 4th of July deal, though, Linda, I'm really serious about upgrading it, the show, the rides, and about the parking and everything. I'm involved a lot down in San Clemente and stuff, and they have a car show down the main drag, and there's no parking. It's all gone. So they do a joint venture with the school district, and they get school buses, and the high schools, people can park there. They're picked up by a school bus, and every half hour, it revolves. So, I don't know, something to look into, we're getting such big attendance.
Oh, my gosh. There was, when Bob and I were leaving, we went up Oaks, and the park, the industrial parks.
Oh, yeah.
Up there, I mean, just lined with cars, all the parking lots, everywhere. There just is no more room for people to go. And of course, people cross the street mid-block, which is dangerous, and we don't have enough officers, explorers, or cadets in the whole world
They park
to
in the fairgrounds, too.
man everything. Yeah,
You know?
that's true.
So I think
Good
we're
suggestion.
utilizing everything, but I thought that's sort of a joint venture with the schools and the, you know.
Maybe that's something the Community Services Commission can look at.
Yeah.
We're certainly going to debrief on that whole event, and certainly we'll come back with recommendations.
Yeah, but I think it's great, you know, if you've got over 15,000 people, it's free, and I don't think we had any problems, did we? So, you know, who mans the intersections? Are they manned or are they not? I know I went around the thing, and like you say, you got people crossing, and
So, Councilman, there's a traffic plan for it, and we combine our, you know, our paid staff along with some of our volunteers, our police explorers, and
Yeah.
different people at strategic locations to try and, you know, give a correct walking and travel route for our pedestrians and vehicles.
You know, an interesting thing that I noticed, Karen, was on Oaks Avenue. You guys have the big portable lights set up, and you have an actual path
Yes.
for people to walk, and
Yes.
people were still on the street
Yeah.
with
Oh,
baby
yes.
strollers and everything. That is an extremely narrow, dangerous path to walk, and yet they were still there instead of going over 60 feet and walking on the designated path.
It's very difficult because of what you just clearly stated, you know, for an entire large area around the park, it's impacted by people parking in those commercial areas, along the easements to watch a very beautiful fireworks show. So we try and provide a great pedestrian route and a lighted route, but you're correct, there's pedestrians and vehicles everywhere for that event because it is so nice. It's a very nice event. that
I
this-
wonder what capacity would be. Linda, do you know? For people?
I mean, how large it
Yeah,
can grow.
how large a crowd?
It's Dr. Reich.
Like I said, Linda, what is the,
Or Linda.
There's a little over 1,000 parking spaces at the park, but we also utilize Chaffey College. We utilize the dirt lot that's not really a parking lot. This year there was a wedding, so we lost some parking, but we also use the easement that's between Oaks and Magnolia, which is the trail you're talking about. So we get a permission from Southern California Edison to use that. We can put about, I think, maybe 300 cars in that easement, so that helps us a little bit, but people park everywhere. I went out through the commercial, and there's people everywhere outside the park.
how many people do you think the park would hold? I mean, was it packed with 15,000 or?
It was packed. We have a little bit more room on the south side of the park, like right to the south of where the golf center was. So that wasn't as full, but if you can tell on the fields that are on the east side of the golf center, that's wall-to-wall people all the way to the back. And then there are people that stay in the parking lot. There are people in the Chaffey parking lot. I'm sure there are people at the parks in College Park. This year I didn't drive through College Park. Last year I did. All the College parks were full of people as well. So they're everywhere.
No, it's a great job. It's really a good service for Chino.
I think how phenomenal to have that many people and there be no major problems.
Yes, and that's a tribute to our Chino residents.
It is. It is.
Because they take care of what's there.
Great community.
That concludes my report. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, Councilman George.
Thank you. Let's see, on June the 21st, I attended the Chaffey Chino Community Center Oversight Board meeting at Sheridan. On the 25th, I also went to the Rancho del Chino Rotary debunking of City Manager Ballantyne, and I'm assuming you did a great job. I mean, it was hard to tell because everybody was throwing baseballs at you all evening long, so. But I'm sure you did a great job. On the 27th, I attended the City-County Conference in Lake Arrowhead. On the 28th, I attended the Chino Valley Fire District pinning ceremony. 10 new firefighters were pinned, and great ceremony. Chief Shackelford told a phenomenal, well, it was a sad story, but a great story about some of his experiences in the, going through the ranks of the fire department. But there was one funny, I'll have to share with you, one funny event that happened during the evening, because all the families are there with the firefighters that are being pinned, and this poor young firefighter that was just pinned, his mother, I think it was his mother, yelled out, "Way to go, Peanut!" And every fireman and firewoman in the place went, "Okay, Peanut, that's going to be your nickname for the rest of your life." So she really messed him up big time. And then also attended the Seroptimus installation at Mayor Pro Tem Howie's house, and congratulations to Karen. On the 29th, the Inland Valley Vietnamese Student Scholarship Award event. On the 30th, the fireworks spectacular, and also we were given a demonstration of the drones that the police department was using, they were using during the evening, and it was that was very interesting. Also, I mean, the detail on those drones are almost embarrassing at times. Let's see, and then on the 4th. The flag raising ceremony at the LDS Church with Mary Uloa, and yeah, you're right. I mean, I was there for like a half an hour, and they had me up on the stage, and I thought, oh, what am I going to say? And luckily, I looked out and saw that big mustache of Bob's out there, so I knew Eunice was close by, and so I was able to get up and say that the reason I was invited to this was so I could introduce the mayor. And then she stood up and gave a fantastic presentation, very very moving, very heart. It was beautiful. And she was very surprised with that, with the family tree. Yeah. Yeah, and she found out that one of her ancient relatives was a robbed stagecoaches for a living. But other than that, it was.
That's not true. But I'll bet you there's a horse thief in there somewhere. Yeah.
Horse thief or something. I can't remember what it was. Then I went on vacation for a week, and the reason I bring this up is because I was teased mercilessly because I was going to Phoenix, Arizona, on July the 5th, and everybody was talking about how hot and everything it was. Well, let me tell you, on the Friday that it was 115 or so here, it was only 112 there, so it was better there. And on the 11th, the police department swearing in ceremony, and you met the officers here this evening. And then on the 12th, the Mike Kolling's retirement luncheon, which, as everybody's talked about, was very heartwarming. And he did an unbelievable amount of work here. Then that evening was the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce installation dinner. And I just want to compliment Linda Flathers. She received the, I can't remember the exact award, a volunteer or the Outstanding Citizens of the Year award. Well deserved. Linda Flathers does, she just unwavering amount of work for this city, and just I'm glad that she was chosen. And then on the 16th, the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce board meeting, and also on the Planning Commission meeting later that evening. And then just a reminder, Chino Day at the Fair this year will be on September the 19th, and tickets will be available. Tom, you want to add to that any of the?
Well, we'll have more information next month's meeting regarding tickets and whatever. But yeah, we'll be Chino Day at the fair will be the 19th, the Wednesday, and I think it's the last week of the fair. So hopefully it'll be a little cooler, because we've had a few days at the fair been a little warm over the years. So we'll get more information on that.
And that's all. That's my report.
Hey, Councilman Rodriguez.
Okay, thank you. June 25th, I attended the community service meeting, which was very informational. The main focus, I think, was on being prepared for the 4th of July. June 27th, likewise with other council members, I attended the San Bernardino County and City Conference at Lake Arrowhead. Various topics were being discussed. And June 28th, Karen Howie, Tom's wife, was installed as president. And I may say that whoever that gardener is, and was a tremendous, does a tremendous job with that house.
That's not you, it's Karen. You want.
June 30th, very, very much impressed with the annual 4th of July celebration. As we know, very orderly. Everything was very nice. People were very respectful of each other, helping each other, and I was very, very impressed. A lot of sea of people. Very, very good. July 1st, I was invited and worked with voter registration and immigration with interfaith organization at Our Lady of Guadalupe Church in Chino, where materials were being passed out. July 6th, I attended with Mayor the senior citizen July celebration birthdays, which is always a pleasure to see the faces of the young folks there getting their little cards for birthdays and so forth. July 9th, that Monday, I was invited to work with a scout troop. I would say Boy Scout troop. I don't know if that's allowed still. Is it? Okay, Boy Scout troop. 207. And they asked me to help them think of ways to work on their citizenship badges. So I suggest that they call the Community Services Director, Dr. Linda Reich, and get information, even with Neighborhood House and also with Meals on Wheels. So there's different avenues that they can do to earn their Scout badges for citizenship. Very important. I'm happy to say that on July 9th, I received a letter that I was reappointed to the SCAG, the Southern California Association of Governments, as a at-large representative for the CEHD, the Community Economic and Human Development Panel, which meets once a month, and I was appointed by the SCAG president, Alan Wapner. July 12th, I attended the chamber installation of new officers with fellow council members and Mayor Eunice. And then this weekend was sort of special. It was very special for me. I went up to my college reunion in Northern California, Friday to Sunday. And the one thing that I noticed that there was over 600 alumnus attending. My class, I was the only one. I was a little bit older in the whole group, you know. So, but I was there. So it was great to see the campus, St. Mary's up there in Northern California, which is just east of Berkeley in Moraga. The weather, it was actually cold, 72 degrees and breezy at night. But for me, it was a pleasure to go back, and I went up there when I was 17 years old. So it brought back a lot of memories. Well, it wasn't that far long ago, but anyway, it was very nice to be up there. And there's actually wild turkeys that still go around walking around the hills, and bobcat, you can actually, I saw some. So it's a nice area, beautiful up there. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay, City Manager Valentine.
Just want to again remind everybody that on July 26th, there'll be a hearing, a scoping meeting for the CIM as it relates to their 50-bed facility, and that's held at the Chaffee College Community Center. And then also we will be, our next meeting, our council meeting will be August 13th, which is a Monday, and we'll be starting at 6 p.m. That concludes my reports.
Okay, thank you. I do have to ask, were you bruised with any of the baseballs that were thrown at you?
He's tough. He's tough.
Were they Nerf balls?
Yeah, yes.
They were, and they had me in catcher's gear, so I was well protected.
How fun. City Attorney Galante, anything this evening?
No report. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Chief Comstock, anything? Nothing. Okay, and who's here for the fire department? Aha.
Thank you for
Scott's
having
here.
me. Madam Mayor and City Council, Deputy Chief Atkinson. I oversee the operations for the district. So just a few items I wanted to first congratulate and thank Mike Kolling. He worked really close with us on multiple projects with the 2 fire stations and the training center. Also, congratulations to the police officers on behalf of the fire district. It's great to see those promotions. I remember working with Kevin Minson when he was an officer, and now he's in a senior role. So, and he's still young, because much younger than most.
That's dark hair.
That's correct. So a couple things I wanted to bring forward were with the current season in the heat, we need to be aware of drowning prevention. Within the Inland Empire, we've seen 3 drownings over the last 2 weeks. Nothing in our area, but it is something that we always need to think about. And if we remember the ABCs of pool, safety, and that's adult supervision, obviously. Number 1, create barriers, and then classes, CPR classes that are available so that we can get trained in the event that we ever need to perform that. The fire department does provide CPR on a monthly basis, and you can go to our website and see when those classes. Also wanted to give you an update on the Valley Fire, which is up in Forest Falls. We had some equipment that had gone up there and personnel. Currently, that fire is still being worked over. That's been over a couple weeks now that it's been there. They still have 120 personnel up there working to continue to contain that fire. As of this morning, 1,348 acres and 29% containment. And if you haven't seen the fire up north by Yosemite, that fire has doubled in size over the past day or two, and it's about 12,000 acres and no containment. And there is a strike team that left from the Inland Empire that went up there last week. And last, I wanted to give you some information from July 4th. So on July 4th, obviously we have fireworks that are selling between July 1st and the 4th. And on the 4th, we had 2 fire inspectors riding with police officers here in the city of Chino. I know, how many police officers did you have extra, Karen?
We deployed 67 personnel.
So 67 personnel as well. In all that, 97 citations were written in the city of Chino for illegal firework use, and 2 citations for us in the county area. We had deputy fire marshals that collected those fireworks. They collected over 173 pounds of fireworks, and then about 7 pounds of safe and sane fireworks. So those fireworks are confiscated. They're stored in our training center burning tower, and then we contract out with Ontario Bomb Squad. They come down and pick those fireworks up. So they have picked those fireworks up. In addition, the confiscated fireworks on the 4th, an additional 2,430 pounds were confiscated between June and July 3rd. So a total of 2,216 pounds total of fireworks collected in all that time. To give you some idea, injuries, we had several injuries. We had a male that was holding an illegal firework and exploded in his hand, so he lost some fingers. We had a 20-year-old male that improperly used a safe and sane firework. Sounds like he put a Piccolo Pete into a bottle of some sort, and it was not intended for that, and he was injured, a Gatorade bottle. And then a male teenager sustained minor burn injuries and some abrasions on his forehead when a safe and sane firework was lit off and hit him in the face. We had 2 small spot fires, 2 dumpster fires, and 1 debris fire in the parking lot. So that sizes up what happened on the 4th. So no big fires, thankfully, and we also did upstaff during that time. That's all I have for you tonight, unless you had any questions.
Thank you very much, Scott.
You bet.
And I'm glad you made a comment about the heat. Last week, as I was driving home, there was an elderly lady on Francis. Now, between Vernon and Central on Francis, there's a great long stretch there of just dirt with nothing around. And this elderly lady had no purse, anything, no hat, and was had a cane and was kind of hobbling along. And I passed her and I thought, I don't know where she's coming from, but wherever she's going is quite a distance, and it was hot. So I turned around, pulled up next to her, and I said, can I help you? Can I give you a ride? And she kind of looked a little bit worried.
I would
and I
too
said,
with you.
no, I know, right? I said, no, seriously, would you like a ride? Where are you going? And she goes, oh, thank you. So she got in the car, and she was just so overheated. She was going to Hillsborough.
Oh, my.
Now, that's quite a distance, and in that kind of heat, I cannot imagine. So, I ask all of us, be compassionate with people that you see, and if you see someone that looks like they're stressed or whatever, if you're uncomfortable stopping, call the police department. I'm going to volunteer you guys. Call the police department, call the fire department, call somebody, but we just have to look out for each other. I was amazed. She had no water. I don't know, she had been at some place and her friends thought that she'd already left and they left her. And so she was walking home. And then also my husband and I went on a ride-along on the 4th of July, and that was quite an experience. I have to compliment our police department. I don't know what it's going to take for people to understand that these illegal fireworks are so dangerous. They're dangerous for everyone. They're dangerous for our own officers, for your neighbors, for yourself, and it's just, I don't know what happens to people.
Animals.
Especially, sorry about men, but there's something about fire and fireworks and guns on the 4th of July. It's like the neighbor that you know who's normally a very nice person, all of a sudden their head spins around.
I think that was a racist comment you just made.
No, it's not racist,
Yeah.
it's sexist. But it's just, there's just something about the 4th of July that brings out craziness in people. I don't know what it
Blame
is.
it on the men.
Well, yeah, because I think most of the time
The women don't watch it all, do they?
of course we do. But seriously, it was very educational to go on the ride-along. But it makes you wonder what in the world we're thinking as people to endanger each other like that. Anyway, okay, our next meeting will be held, as our city manager said, on August 13th, which is a Monday at 6 o'clock here in the chambers. Closed session, if it's needed, will start at 5 o'clock. And with that, we are adjourned.